live stream. Maybe we're live? I don't know.
Let's see. I'm trying to check.
Hey, there is a button. Yes, I think we are live.
Yeah.
One watching now. Oh god, I need to turn that off. Alright. I'm gonna share this in like announcements and stuff.
Many people here already. Wow.
Alright. That will do. Look at that. So we got some people in the chat already. Can you guys hear us? Okay? Yes? No? Good? Thumbs up? Thumbs down? Testing 1 2. Very good. Very good.
Good.
All right. Hello and welcome. They are already asking about the module. Nice.
Yeah.
Right on point. Very good. That is a topic to be discussed today, for sure. It will not go live today because it's Friday, and who wants to do a launch on a Friday? That's dangerous games. So first we'll do some introductions, because this is actually David's first stream. I've been on here a time or two before, so I think most of you guys know me. If not, hello, I am Mark. I work with customer service and operations at Wooting, and I'll pass it on over to David.
Yeah, so I'm David. I'm a junior desktop developer, as we call it. I work on programming various things. Worked on Wootamation backends, which I am working on right now as well. Some of you may have noticed, finally.
Wootamation needs some love. Let's get it.
It does need some updates. And then from the more public things, I also helped a little bit with Wootility, and I also made some RGB effects for the UU. And rewrote.
So shout out in chat if you have an UU, and if you do, then David's made some RGB effects for you.
Yeah, the spin thing and heat map effects and stuff.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so we're gonna start this stream then with a 10-minute update. I have a bunch of things written down. I have no idea if it's gonna take 10 minutes or not, but we'll jump right into that. And the very first thing on the list is, of course, the new products that we have coming up to launch soon. It's already been asked about in the chat in the first 45 seconds of when is the module going to release. And for people who may not know what the module is, essentially it is the PCBA of the 60HE in either the ANSI or the ISO format, plus a switch plate and some foam. And the idea is that you can get just the bare bones of what makes Wooting, and then you can have your selection of keycaps and selection of switches and even selection of case now as well with the Alumaze. So the plan is to start pre-orders very soon. We're hoping for next week. That should be achievable as a plan. If that does not come to pass, well, plans can change. This is not a promise, but we do want to get it out and about. Am I using the right mic? I have no idea. Does it sound okay? Good enough? If yes,
Good
then
enough,
I'm just going to keep
I
going. And so we're expecting to launch pre-orders next week. What we can promise is that when we do launch these, we will shout it from the rooftops. So we'll be posting on Discord, on Twitter. We'll get some YouTube videos up. We'll be emailing folks. I think there's even a newsletter that's going to go out. We will make sure that you are informed of the module launching. And the fact that we've delayed opening up pre-orders for this module for a couple of weeks now has not impacted the time frame when we expect to deliver it. The mass production is still continuing as scheduled, and once that launch happens, then you'll see when the estimated date is for it to arrive to our warehouse, and then from there to get to your front door. Depends on, of course, your last mile shipping method. So that's the module. That's the big news coming up soon. Alongside that, we've got some exciting new colors for different products that we've already released. So one of those is the Take Control keycaps. We've got them in the black and yellow currently, and we're adding a number of different colors. These may not be launched at the same time as the module, because we want to be absolutely sure that what we have on the storefront is in fact the golden sample of this is what the keycaps are supposed to look like. So for a couple of these colorways, we're still going back and forth with manufacturers on what exactly, what shade of pink is the best pink, for example. Pink is a confirmed color. And then what we will be launching alongside the module at the same time is pre-orders for the white and pink wrist rests. Those are, I'm almost entirely positive, are completely ready to go, including pictures of final products and that sort of thing. And so those are coming as well. New colors for the allumes, new colors for the coiled cables. All of these are going to be popping up on our storefront over the next couple of weeks, maybe month or two, depending on how that plays out. Okay, next, new keyboard. We will make a new keyboard eventually. This is not the stream for information on that. What I can share is that there is a plan for information to be shared. So you've got a plan for a plan, and that will become known in the next weeks or months or so. So stay tuned on that. But this is not the stream for that. Okay, so that's new products. What about our current products? And the big news is, well, it's maybe news, maybe not so much news, but we've got a bunch of keyboards in stock and keyboard-like products with the Uwu. So the full-sized Wooting 2HE is in stock on both storefronts for all layouts, and the Uwus are in stock for all versions as well. So the RGB, the non-RGB, and the Stealth on both storefronts. For the full-size Wooting 2HE, they are getting pretty low on stock in the US, and then in the EU, the ANSIs are getting pretty low on stock. ISO will be available for at least a few weeks longer, so if you're looking to pick up one of those products while it's in stock, now would be your chance. The next batches are expected to deliver sometime in the middle of December, so it may be a couple of weeks where it's out of stock. And then from there, we do expect it to be continuously in stock for the foreseeable future. So, next piece of the list then, current products in stock, yes or no? We got the 60HE. Of course, that is our most popular keyboard, and it has also been the biggest challenge for us to get in stock. In the EU, the ISO layout has in fact been in stock for several weeks. However, that is probably going to run out this week or next week. So if you're looking to get an ISO 60HE, now's your chance for that. The reverse is true for ANSIs, that those have not been in stock and are very soon going to be in stock. So in the US, as soon as NA Pancake arrives, we'll have a couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks or so worth of sales rate for those keyboards in stock. And then in the EU, the same is true once Syrup arrives and is totally inbounded and ready to go. We will have stock of ANSI 60HEs. So that's exciting. Of course, that stock probably won't last for very long. And then in the US in particular, Black Friday, Cyber Monday is a very big e-commerce days, and so there's a fair chance that people are looking to place orders for the keyboard then, and if a whole bunch of people do so, then it may not be in stock. But as always, the earlier you order, the earlier it arrives. So talking about Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we have no plans for any sales of any kind during this period. we struggle hard enough to get our own products in stock on our storefront, so we don't really need to be selling them on sale and earning the same or less revenue for the same products. That doesn't make business sense. And previously, we have done what we call a garage sale for Black Friday, where we take products that have been returned, that we inspect them and repair them if needed, or swap out parts, clean them, and that kind of thing. We do not have any plans for that this year either. We simply just don't have the time available to spend cleaning keycaps and cleaning keyboards. So no garage sale this year either. It is definitely something that we need to do at some point next year. We've got a pretty big pile of stuff that needs to get moved in some capacity, but it is not going to happen next week. That is for certain. Okay, and then the last piece for the 10-minute update is a shameless plug for, hey, we are hiring. So check out wooting.io/careers. We are hiring a number of different roles, including customer service in the Netherlands or Denmark or Germany or Taiwan. We are also hiring for an inbound content and email marketing specialist. So if you've got a way with words and a way with emails, then that is the role for you. We're also looking for an industrial designer. That'll be based out of Taiwan specifically. And then, as always, we've got an open call that if you have a skill set that you think would be valuable for Wooting, apply to the open call. Shoot your shot and let us know. We'd love to hear it. So that is it for the 10-minute update. I have no idea how long that took. Maybe about 10 minutes. It's probably pretty close. And now we can get into the weeds of things. So we got lots of people asking questions already in chat. So feel free to ask some more questions and see what we got. And while we collect a few of those, I think it's a good opportunity for David to take a moment and talk a little bit about what his plans are for Wootamation and some of the other projects that he's working on.
Wootamation. Well,
that is me with Steam open. Let me mute that. Apologies.
Well, first off, to get some updates out, obviously, it kind of needs some love. There are some fixes incoming. It will, for example, it will now work in games, I think. But there's going to be definitely some special UI warnings that you should really be careful around anti-cheats, as we've mentioned before as well, because obviously using an application which sends key commands is not a good idea for when playing some games like Call of Duty or CS2 or something.
Yeah, any kind of competitive multiplayer game that you should stray away from macros, and to be honest, even things like DKS, that is something that you should be wary of. And just from like an honesty standpoint, that's the rapid trigger itself is already powerful enough that you don't need to be adding DKS in a competitive environment. Of course, if you're just screwing around with friends, do what you want.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to make a bunny hop macro in Half-Life, then you can. I tried it on that one, so it works pretty well. And then so various fixes, loop macros. That's what I'm working on now, finally. So that's like the number one feature people want. It's taking a little while, but I should have something ready soon. And then, well, I guess outside of, Wootamation, I've been working on various things of varying confidentiality.
The experimental stuff.
Yeah, more like experimental stuff with Rust, specifically programming in mainly Rust and C. But for example, the RGB effects, there was a big rewrite. Simon did the framework for, and then we together kind of went over, and I redid a lot of the effects as well, added some options to them. The scan effect, for example, the vertical motions, right? Jelly effect was rewritten. The new effects for Ubu, obviously, with some customization there. So the spinning thing, the APM modes and stuff like that. So, and then there's more plans for software. But then that also depends on sort of how it all comes together. So we need to work on things in some. That's why Wootamation had to wait for a little while, because there's also other pieces of the puzzle which we do have, like this vision for the software as well. And when it all needs to come together, you gotta have everything ready. And also with the Woo launch, firmware stuff, a lot of things, multi-device support, right? Wootility, that was a big thing as well.
And of course, the whole transition going from alpha to beta to stable, those are very important milestones that need to be handled with care.
Yeah.
It would be quite a shame if we released some kind of update to Wootility that caused issues with people's products. That's certainly not what we want to do.
Especially firmware. For example, a very difficult thing, keeping the settings because the RGB FX now work completely different. There's multitude of speed options, and getting the existing settings to migrate properly, all the testing it takes, that's a big thing. So you update and you don't lose the modes, the settings, the trail effect, for example. That was a thing to work on to make it all click nicely. So a lot of different things. There's also a thing Calder mentioned.
This is something that sounds juicy.
Juicy.
What you got?
The background service. We did talk about that on.
Calder has previously publicly spilled the beans
publicly
on that.
spoken about that one.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's also a thing that we're sort of thinking about. Maybe we can do a little.
Yep. So right now there's a third-party app for in-app profile switching by one of our community members. Shay, I think, is who has made that. But we intend to wrap that into Wootility in some capacity. Or it may be a standalone service. I'm not exactly sure all the details behind that. However, that is indeed a plan. Though, with that said, it's a good opportunity to talk about that we do have a GitHub of a bunch of different community-based projects that we do support and nurture as best we can. The current profile switching system is one of those community projects, and there's a couple others, and there's some pretty cool stuff in there. So if you are somebody who really likes to tinker with with the cutting edge of things, then that is a place for you. I also saw in chat somebody mentioning talking about the beta and the alpha and the public versions of Wootility. It is possible to sign up for the beta. If you go to Discord, there is a role that you can select, and I'm no Discord wizard, but I think if you, top left corner, there's a roles and channels button or function, and you can sign up to the beta roles. And can you do that via the Wooting hub as well?
I don't think so. I don't think not in the hub. You can sign up for shipment updates there, I think.
Okay.
Which is tied to what you ordered specifically.
Yes, indeed. We've got a couple of questions here about talking about Black Friday sales or sales on wrist rests or other kinds of discounts. No, that is not in the plan. We have a hard enough time keeping our products in stock as it is, and we do offer various kinds of discounts for loyal customers, so people who have purchased products previously, and then also with various combinations of things that are in your cart. So like if you purchase a wrist rest and a keyboard together, then you automatically get 10% off the wrist rest. Those kinds of things are just standing discounts that we do have available, but we do not have any plans for any specific Black Friday or Cyber Monday discounts. So if you're looking to order and you order now, you will not have a regret in a few days thinking that the price is going to be cheaper or something. That is not going to happen.
Yeah.
And we've had our first direct request for are you guys going to make a TKL version? We are working on a keyboard that is somewhere between 60% and 100%. But we have not made public any specific timeline for that or what the specifics are for that. But it is a fact that every time somebody asks for a TKL, that we take the planned release date and we add 5 minutes to that. So currently we have the planned release date plus about 312 days and like 6 hours and 55 minutes. So it'll keep tallying up every time you ask when TKL. And then we do have one very important standing discount, which is you could use the code Discord discount to get you 0% off of your order. And that does function.
Yeah.
Got another question here. Is my cat in the flying basket, and will my cat be shown on stream? No, she is not in the basket at the moment. She's in the bedroom in her scratching post, sleeping away there. So unless she decides to wake up and make herself known, then it does not seem like we will have any cat stream today, unfortunately. All right. What other questions do we got? Otherwise, I'll start talking about like operational things, and nobody wants to know about that. But I will jump right into that because there is one important thing to mention on this stream, which is that we have started with a fulfillment center based out of Hong Kong. And the idea is twofold. One, our EU warehouse, our fulfillment center, has been increasingly overloaded with the sheer volume of orders that we're pushing through there, and particularly when large batches deliver all at once. Now it's an entire batch of keyboard where everybody wants to get their order shipped yesterday, and the fulfillment center has been struggling to successfully execute on that. They're not set up for batch shipments. They're set up for a typical e-commerce store where they've got a bunch of stock in the warehouse, and they have a sales rate of X number of orders per day, and it's pretty consistent with that. Not a whole bunch of orders all at once and then nothing for 2 weeks, and then a whole bunch of orders at once and then nothing for 2 weeks. So that's been a struggle for them. And we've done everything that we can to work with them, and they have done an incredible job of working with us and helping smooth out this process as best we can. But one of the things that we have realized a little while ago that is just going to need to be required is that we have an additional fulfillment center to help handle some of that workload, and it makes the most sense to do so in somewhere in Asia. We ended up settling with this company in Hong Kong. Looked at a number of different places, but this one worked out for what we need. And one of the big benefits for that then is the freight shipments to go from our factory or manufacturer in China to fulfillment center in Hong Kong is much quicker and also much cheaper. So from that perspective, we will be able to get new products and new batches delivered to customers even quicker. So we're doing a first trial run with this. We have sent them a whole bunch of 60HEs, the ANSI US only for now. And so we're going to start with orders shipping to, let me see if I got the whole list off the top of my head, China, Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan. I feel like I'm missing a big one. Oh, and Korea. So we're going to start with those, and only for orders that have just the 60HE or some number of those keyboards. We're going to start shipping those as early as next week. Middle of next week, I think, is when the first shipments will go out. And then, this is a trial run, so it's not fully integrated yet within our system, so there's some quirks with that, but we will certainly get people's orders shipped to them as soon as possible.
There's a question for Wootamation, actually, for macros, plant feature in Wootility. So that there is a separate application for that. It's the Wootamation one, and it's a cross-platform solution that's more software-based instead of the keyboard sort of hardware macros thing that's usually present in other keyboards. So like having Control C when holding C. So that's a feature that I'm working on right now. It's like these various types of macros. Basically, when you hold a key while it's being held, macros execute, or X amount of repeats, or just like a loop macro, a toggle. Basically, when you press a key, it will stop or start. There are other ways of that we can, I think, fairly in interesting ways we can expand on this mechanic basically as we go, which is sort of this bigger software idea which will come together, I hope, later sometime. And you could, for example, because obviously by the way the project is public, you can always
it's open source as well, right?
Yeah, it's open. It's a GPL3. It's free software actually, as a full GPL license. And you can contribute. You can go to the GitHub page. So it's fairly transparent there. All the development that's taking care of there, and then you can see, if you look into the source code, you can actually see there were plans and still are. I think I would like to get to that someday. You could, for example, originally in the alpha versions, you could actually control, if you have Philips Hue lights at your home, you could actually connect your bridge to them, and you could control it via Wootamation, like binds a key on your keyboard and just control your lights as well, for example. So,
or use your UU as like a dimmer and a make brighter button for your Philips Hues.
Yeah, and that's something that I see a lot. I'm not a huge OS player.
OS.
Right? OS, there we go. But I see the UU as this really nice device that you could use for like with Wootamation, and have more powerful macros with more powerful integrations. But as I said before, it's all of these pieces. For example, there has been a lot of requests to, like, can you mute your microphone in the system, for example, right? Or can you mute Discord microphone stuff? A lot of these things would be nicer to have a bit more, let's say, unified. So there are other pieces that still need to be worked on, and then Wootamation can sort of click in there.
Well, there's also operating system limitations as well,
yes,
right? So
as well.
Got to work through those.
As well,
if
yeah.
Possible,
so we try to support all three operating systems. The Wootamation has a little bit of a difficulty with Mac currently, which I know about, and we are thinking of how to also fix that one. Because of all the various limitations on macOS, it's a little bit more strict there, and it is definitely planned. So eventually, all the features should be available on.
And if you've got suggestions for features, definitely head on over to our Discord. We have a whole section for Wooting software. That's we've got a channel then for Wootility. We've got a channel for Wootamation. So feel free to drop your suggestions. And we certainly read those, and I know that David here is actively going back and forth with people on Discord to kind of flesh out, okay, what is this suggestion? Why are you suggesting it? And how can we, create that into some kind of function or feature?
Yeah.
So
good example, notifications. So that's implemented now. There is Wootamation. You can set notifications from your operating systems to see either some errors when the macros don't execute properly, but also when they execute properly, it's per macro now.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's also a suggestion, and it's not just that. Obviously, Firmware, Wootility, and other software also things that we definitely look at in Discord specifically, and there are. We try to respond. There's a lot of feature requests, so we read them. It just sometimes takes a little bit of time to kind of figure out what the best sort of generic solution that could apply to multiple products, for example, is.
Yeah, we also have to be careful about the implementation of those because we're not looking to try to enable people to cheat in competitive games
as well. For example, with
particularly important as a consideration. Now, macros in general, something like Wootamation is You shouldn't be running it if you have a game with an anti-cheat running, just for your own safety. But specifically, where I saw a suggestion for an individual who wanted to add random input timings between their macro executions for the sole purpose of attempting to evade some kind of anti-cheat system, and that is that's not something that we want to implement. If you want to do something like that, I'm sure you could build it with AutoHotkey or something. Maybe I don't know, but not with our stuff.
Yeah, we really because the idea is to have the best keyboard, the best service, right? And you definitely don't want to purchase a product and then just get banned just because you tried to use, maybe even didn't know.
No, indeed.
There are additional warnings in Wootamation now for that, just so you know. It's when it's running in background, it does grab keystrokes and then send them back. And when you have various anti-cheats, they do see more into. They have higher privileges, so they do see more into what's happening on your computer. So they do see stuff.
Indeed. So. I've seen a couple of questions come through with respect to a Wooting mouse or a Hall effect mouse or something related to mice. I want to mention to folks that we don't currently have any plans to release a mouse product. Our goal as Wooting is to create products that move the space, whatever that space may be, forward in a meaningful way, and our perspective of what we see in the mouse world at the moment is that there's a whole lot of companies who are actively competing very very intently to kind of in a race to the bottom between price and weight, and neither of those are particularly innovative concepts. Shaving an extra half a gram or a gram off of the weight of your mouse, okay, that's cool, I guess, but that doesn't drive the market forward. It's not an impactful product in that way. So we're just not looking to compete in that space at this point in time. So.
And even the market now, I personally feel, for example, the mouse market is a bit sort of stale because we already got to 30-40 gram mice, right?
Yeah, I'm cutting it off another 10%. Okay, now you save 3 grams.
It's sort of like almost everyone has
a couple
very light a mouse variant right now available, and there's not much more. Like, a mouse is a very specific device where ergonomics and more like this. It's not a keyboard is a standardized. There are standards for keyboards. There are, of course, various types of keyboards, various layouts, but a mouse is much more individual device. And with a keyboard, for example, you can make a lot of people very satisfied. With a mouse, it's something that I feel like is very personal. So not everyone would ever find a mouse comfortable. If, for example, if we made one shape, it would definitely not fit everyone. I don't think there is a universal sort of thing you can focus on, and you can just, if you do it very well, you can make a mouse great. I think it's a variation of all the different things.
Yeah, I've seen a website previously that had I want to say something like 40 or 50 different physical shapes of mice and how people's hands hold them. And I was looking at that in my search to look for a new mouse for myself, and I ran into that and was like, oh shit, yeah, no, I'm just gonna stick with a nice and standard. I'm not gonna spend all that much time digging into how exactly I hold my mouse. No thanks.
Yeah. I guess the only sort of thing that's kind of universally not good on mice, for me personally, at least, if I want to say what I would, if hypothetically Wooting was doing a mouse, right, which we're not, but if I would definitely personally want to focus on the scroll wheels, because the scroll wheel just the ease of scrolling I find very distracting in games. Usually they I guess they get dirty or something, but then they start like double scrolling, right? So if you keep scrolling down, sometimes it jumps up and goes down. So that's what happened to me a lot of times, and with various mice. So for me personally, that's the area where I would want to see improvements. But there is a lot of perspectives, a lot of people, the side button placements, how hard it is to press them. There's a lot of variety.
Yeah, whether you've got 2 buttons or 6 buttons or 13 buttons or who knows how many buttons on the side of your mouse. That personal preference. I once had a Razer mouse where I could like hot swap the different side components for how many buttons I wanted. And I got all 3 of their options because they came with it, and I used one and threw away the others and never touched them again. So whatever that's worth.
Right. But even then, it's even with these hot swap components, it's very difficult to kind of make them all good. So what I'm trying to say, a mouse is a very wide concept that's like full of individual tweaks.
Yep, and we've got a whole lot of opportunities ahead of us still in keyboards and other types of input devices in that sense. Of course, the Uwu is a keyboard, sort of like it's treated as a keyboard within our software, but it as a input device is kind of a unique take on that. And there's a lot more things that we can do in that sort of field, looking into various kinds of niches where maybe there isn't a really high quality manufacturer of exactly the kind of product that this particular niche or game or system requires, and I don't want to drop any specific kinds, but that is definitely stuff that we're looking into actively. And so if this is something that interests you, and you are an industrial designer, for example, and we definitely have lots of different projects that we'd love to get you working on. And then, of course, we have a big glaring hole in our keyboard lineup for something that is not quite this big, but somewhere in the range of that. So that's a big focus for us.
Yeah, there's a lot of untapped potential, let's say, in a lot of keyboards still, well, trying to innovate in the correct way also is sort of an interesting experience, I think, because it's easy to say, well, rapid trigger is great, right? It's like the thing that should be in every keyboard now, right? Everyone tries to do it.
And everybody's implementing it too. That's
but the process, when you work together and brainstorm and try to come up with ideas, you don't know yet what the thing is, right? So that's what makes it very like exciting, at the same time somewhat difficult and uncertain.
Oh, and I can't wait for when the next evolution of rapid trigger drops. Oh man, you think our competitors are catching up to Wooting? It's like, you don't know what we got in the pipeline, baby. Ooh, buddy.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. And well, originally, so the best example, originally Wooting keyboards, first and foremost was the analog sort of functionality, the output, right? But what turns out is that when you look back, not a lot of people probably use the analog sort of Xbox controller thing now, right?
Or they do, but only for very specific purposes, not typically for like general gameplay. Like if you're hopping in a car in GTA, maybe you swap over to an analog profile and do that. But generally speaking, it's very not hugely used indeed.
Yeah. So what turns out is that this framework, basically, a foundation that allows you to sense the depth of the press, just gave birth to rapid trigger, for example, and to DKS even, and there's lots and lots of things you can do with having these multiple input values. And it's not the first thing that came to mind. That's the thing. It's when thinking about products. That's also why it takes a little while to come up with products we have, right? Because we even other products, you almost have something ready, and then you see this is not this is not the way to do it. This is there is still, like, later down the line, 6 months later, this would break or this would not work properly. You go back and you redesign it and you go again just to get it right.
Mm-hmm. Or we ship that software to end users, and
Yeah.
the massive variety of different people who are end users. A couple of them figure out or come up with some kind of way to utilize a function that is blows our mind, and is either gives us feedback and asks us to help develop what we already have to better support their specific use case, or they just post about, hey, I'm using it for this or that, and then it's like, wow, that's really really clever. Wish we would have thought of that, but hey, glad you're using our system for that.
And also, a very important part, why things take a little bit longer, we try to also support all the keyboards we have, even the older AVR chips still. And
Definitely.
we'll try to, we recently migrated the AVR boards to the newer Wootility, right? So everything is now under one roof, and there are ways to, even when we run out of memory on the chip and we say, okay, well, this is really, we can't just we compress everything so much, there's no other way of putting any other feature there. Just because we're now together on this one Wootility release, there are other ways of supporting these products longer, for a really long time. And we really try to, at least if we can't get one-to-one feature parity, we try to adapt. So for example, with the RGB, the layers, you don't get layers on AVR because there's just not enough memory, but you still get all the redone effects.
So maybe we should take a moment here and have a little bit of a history lesson of what exactly it is that David's talking about here with AVR, because there's a whole lot of new folks who have really were never exposed to this as even a fact of Wooting's existence at the time. So when the 60HE was first developed and designed, and the very first batch that was created, the microchip that was used for it was an AVR chip. And that met all of our needs at the time, with the exception of one of our needs was that we needed to make a whole heck of a lot of keyboards. And that was right around the whole Corona supply chain shortage craziness that was going on, and at a point in time for us to buy that same AVR chip that used to cost that, I don't know, a couple of bucks or something per chip. I don't really know what these are priced at, but it went for 3, 4, 5, even 10 times the same price, and we couldn't get them in the quantities that we needed. So after the first batch was manufactured, we were forced to swap over to a new chipset for the microcontroller that is now an ARM chip. So that's why you'll see when you buy a 60HE, it's a 60HE ARM is what it is specifically. And so our software devs had to, in a pinch, create a whole new firmware language, maybe, or implementation. I don't know the terminology for it.
Support the different CPU.
A new architecture essentially. And so they did that, and one of the benefits of that transition was that the ARM chips have a lot more onboard memory that they can utilize to do various kinds of functions. So one of the promises that we made to people who received the first batch of 60HEs, one, we gave them the option to choose to delay their order to go and get a second batch 60HE that would have the new chip, or if they did receive the very first ones, we made a promise to them that we would guarantee feature parity until January of 2024, which is coming up here really quite quick, actually. It's amazing how time flies. But our intention and our ethos is to continue supporting our products for as long as those products exist in the wild. So a good example of that is long before the whole HE aspect of Wooting, which is a Hall effect aspect, we did with FlareTech switches using optical switches, and a lot of the same features that are possible with the Hall effect keyboards are also in some capacity possible for the optical switch keyboards. Now, there are limitations for that. For example, rapid trigger on the Hall effect keyboards is 0.1 millimeter or 0.15 or something.
And the range is bigger
it's
as well.
a tiny difference that you can start that first press. With the optical switches, because they are inherently less accurate, particularly on the extremes, for unpressed and completely pressed, I think the range is 0.4 millimeters, but they can still use rapid trigger, and so it's important for us to continue supporting these products long after their stated lifespan or warranty period.
Yeah, because when you buy a product that's more expensive, right? You definitely want to get the product with you for a journey, basically for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
on that journey, you receive a lot of updates. You receive support. You receive the ability to contribute back. We do have a very unique, close, I think, relationship with everyone. We try to at least really listen to
through our
the
community.
feedback,
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, on Discord, you can see us, tag us, right, and ask questions, and it's a more direct way of developing the product together, basically, in a way as well. I mean, not every feature we can implement, and there are reasons for some features to not exist yet, or that just cannot really be done. That doesn't mean we haven't thought about them or discussed them. That's just the nature of for me personally as well. I mean, I am here how long? A year? About a year.
Go with
right.
That. Well, you started as an intern, right? So we can.
Yeah, I started as intern.
It's probably about a year and a half or so.
October. Yeah. And before I joined, I bought Wooting 2 and then a 60HE ARM, which I waited for. It took a little while, right? And then there were some things I really wanted to change. But now that I see more into like why the design decisions have been made, it's more apparent. Like, oh, right, we actually thought of that.
Well, there's also a balance to be drawn, right? Because from the one hand, you don't want to limit the possibility of exciting new features that are possible on the newest and the best and the greatest. You don't want to limit those because these people also expect the best and the greatest. But then you also want to make sure that the people who have bought previous products can also participate in those new features. And so there's a balance that needs to be drawn, and I think that it takes a little bit of give and take in some ways, but we certainly try to be as open and transparent with what it is that we can do, and also what it is that we at the minimum guarantee. So, for example, that AVR that we guarantee feature parity through January 24. That doesn't mean that afterwards we're not going to be adding great features that AVR can do. It's just that we aren't going to necessarily limit ourselves to the technical limitations of the old AVR chip for the new features on.
Yeah, apparently you have some echo issues. I don't hear any echo, but I don't. If you maybe have a second stream running accidentally or something, but I don't hear any echo here. But then let me check the stream if it's actually echoing.
Did this fix it? Yes or no? Can you even hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Then
it started very suddenly. I wasn't even pressing the keyboard. Is it continuing? Testing. 1, 2.
This one's already given big theater. Wow. What does it sound like?
Okay, I'll mute more things. I'll keep muting things until it stops. And y'all tell me that it stops and I'll start unmuting things, I guess. Has it stopped yet? Testing.
It's like a double really...
Hey, fixed now?
Fixed.
Okay.
Alright, good.
Cool. Yeah, there's like 7 different inputs or something in the Streamlabs. I don't know where it came from. I wasn't even touching the keyboard when y'all said it changed, so don't know. But hey, it's fixed. Good.
Yeah, so supporting as long as possible. That's definitely a goal and a value we really want to keep to. there will be a time when, as I said, just math is math. You can't fit as many features into everything, but then either at least a little bit of a cut down version, which keeps the spirit of the function still working as intended, or there could be a ways more in the software side, like Wootility and stuff, which we can still help stuff and performance improvement. Performance improvements, we are always optimizing stuff.
Oh yeah. No holding back. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're always optimizing stuff, and
shameless plug. That is why some of our software features are so difficult for our competitors to replicate. Because, for example, with Rapid Trigger, we've been doing Rapid Trigger for literally years now, and we've spent years to optimize the way that our firmware handles Rapid Trigger to make it really dang good. And Simon's a whiz with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So absolutely, there are improvements coming. There's improvements that are already in the pipeline. There's improvements that will be thought of and created out of thin air in the future, for sure. Is that going to hold back on like a hardware standpoint or something? I think that with everything that we've just discussed, you can very confidently trust us when we say, whatever you buy now is going to be amazing for a very long time.
And even with, I see a lot of polling rates like 4,000, 8,000 hertz. There are some improvements to that, but or like the ways that feature can, I guess, make your keyboard a little bit faster. But what is the thing that makes it fastest? For example, the tachyon mode, right? There are optimizations which can dramatically decrease the lag and input delays, and still within that 1,000 hertz like we have now, or that will just outweigh potential sometimes. Yeah, so it's not that. It's just that the hertz that makes the keyboard fast, basically, and that's why we are able to deliver such low latency and quick and fast products, is because of all the optimization. And that's still within the good old 1,000 hertz, right? And
yeah,
it's still...
I can say with reasonable confidence, I don't pay all too close attention to all the different products out there, but I could say with fair confidence that we at 1 kilohertz are faster than any 8 kilohertz keyboard that I'm aware of. And that is, they may have the marketing lingo of, bigger number, go faster. But if they don't have the firmware to actually make use of that, doesn't do you any good. That's not to say that we're not, looking at what can we do even faster or even better. So perhaps in the future there is a world where Wooting does have faster polling rates, or is that scanning rates? That'd be scanning rates, right? One of the two.
Well,
but either way, whatever we can do to do more, better, faster, but we don't want to just do it for the sake of having a bigger number for our marketing team to run with. That's not our goal. Our goal is to actually be impactful.
Yeah. You never receive a device which would just have a useless feature, I think. Just
with the exception that the 60HE says on the landing page that it's esports grade. That means absolutely nothing, but it sounds great. So
well, I mean,
you could invent a definition for it, I guess, but there's no standard definition of what makes it esports grade. That's just a bit of a meme, at least in my opinion.
True, but I guess now when you look at it with the speed and stuff, you could say that a lot of pros have been using it as well. So it's like this.
Oh yeah, it's huge in the esports scene for sure.
Yeah,
but the definition of
but
esports
then that doesn't
grade,
make, for example, the 2HE doesn't, you don't get any worse performance.
Yeah, it's exactly the same, and it does not say on the landing page that it's esports grade. So is it not esports grade? Is it
There are some performance differences because the keyboard is bigger, but then we have developed
The focus
tap
scanning mode, yeah.
focus modes, focus scanning. So again, to really get it just together, and for you and for anyone to just pick the size of the keyboard you want, rather than having to worry about specs. That's the thing. Worrying about different little specs and stuff is just personally, I think it's very stressful to constantly try to keep up with that and stuff. What you get is the best optimized thing that is on the hardware and that should run flawlessly, and even with other products should be on par with the key sort of speed and scanning and stuff as much as it allows. So
well, the reality is that 90 plus, maybe 99% even of our customers are not experts in the keyboard world. You know, we do tend towards a very enthusiast and highly educated in the product group customers because we are so niche and we're so small. But as Wooting continues to grow, there's going to be more people that have really no other choice other than to just rely on our knowledge and expertise to be able to say, these are the best keyboards, these are the best products, and we mean it, and we spend a lot of time thinking about it.
Of course, we do ship samples to various benchmarkings as well, right? We do have a lot of there are a lot of reviews which do go in there and benchmark stuff.
Yep.
And that's sort of the thing where we also get some feedback, right? Like, is it fast? You know, because we say it's fast, but then the results come in and it is holding up to that. So that's very important as well. So
we do, to your point, we do provide keyboards to big reviewers. Actually, our marketing team has the directive of that for us to provide products to them to review, they have to either be very large audience folks or very high quality content folks. So even if you're a small creator that makes just really high production value stuff, we are more than happy to provide you with our products in some capacity to help you grow your channel and review our products. And that's one of our best marketing opportunities is to do just that. But that said, there are also businesses out there, and one springs to mind is Artings, is they will not accept from us samples that we send them. Because their expectation is that they should be able to buy from our storefront whatever product it is that they want to test under some kind of not pseudonym per se, but they're not highlighting the fact that they're going to be testing this exact one, and that's part of their methodology to ensure that what they receive is not custom tailored to be exactly super turbo fast, but it is in fact a off the shelf product. But then at the same time, when they do purchase our products, they will often communicate with us to make sure that their testing methodology is aligned with how they can get the best out of the keyboards, or if we have any concerns about their methodologies or their testing, that we have an avenue with which to communicate that to them as well. Yeah, secret shopper. That's exactly the kind of thing indeed. Yep.
And so how we optimize your instructions. It's a lot about optimization and stuff, and even the features and a lot of testing, right? We do also gather feedback from esports pros, right? And also their input also goes in there, and there is definitely a thing I think we want to we'll see, right? We want to address a thing with, we have a lot of features, and sometimes it is a little bit difficult to sort of get in there and use all the features to the fullest potential, right? There is definitely a moment where we will look at how to sort of streamline this experience between advanced features
Yeah.
and something more simple.
Yeah, more like a casual user
Yeah.
versus a power user versus an esports pro versus a streamer. You know, different people have different expectations for
Exactly.
the level
Different
of
use
complexity
cases and-
for their system. And that's one of the things that we are actively looking at. We just on Discord recently, last week, 2 weeks ago, something like that. We did launched a survey for Wootility for people to
Yes.
comment on, you know, what is their experience with Wootility? How are they actually using it with respect to our keyboards and our products? And we had a lot of great interactions from folks. One of the things that really surprised me was the number of individuals, or the percentage of individuals who use Wootility on a daily or even a weekly basis. That blows my mind. I personally only ever open up Wootility, like I said it once when I got my Lecker edition a long time ago, and I've really only opened it up now to, like, you know, take screenshots of portions to share with people. This is how you do this setting, that kind of thing. So I like maybe once a month to actually utilize Wootility, but then, you know, there's people who apparently use it every single day, which is wild to me. But hey, power to you.
And so definitely, we definitely want the feedback, because there's well, personally, I have seen it with some of my friends who bought a wooden keyboard, and then they got into sort of setting it up. And there are definitely ways we wanna gather feedback on that as well, and kind of streamline that in some ways. So one very good example of this UI streaming and feature streaming would be maybe the update screens, right? The new ones, the new updates. That's a lot more. You know,
it's more of an experience versus you like go into the
and
settings and, you know,
yeah.
And so we have a new UX UI designer, Paula, who started working with us a couple months ago now, a little while at least, and so she's been actively working on improving that portion of the flow, definitely. Some question here about any plans on making an improved switch, as far as better pre-loop switches, that they hand loop their switches, and that does make the switches sound so much better. There's a couple of different questions within there, and I'll answer them all. One is that hand looping is definitely going to be much better than factory lubing. We do lube at the factory to the greatest extent that we can, but a factory process like that is never going to be as precise with as much fidelity as you sitting there with a brush and like painting every single little plastic piece of it. That's never going to be quite up to that level. And then the second part of that question was an improved switch, and that is something that we are always and constantly looking at. How can we make our switches, our Lecker switches, better? Whether that's, you know, tiny little changes or improvements here, or, you know, perhaps we have some kind of crazy idea to make a whole new version of a Lecker switch that does different things. That is something that we need to be very careful about in the speaking of publicly, because our competitors are listening very closely to what it is that Wooting does with Wooting switches. But the short answer to that is we are always looking at what can we do better.
Always discussions happening.
And sometimes, you know, there's some really wild ideas that get thrown out there, and it's like, there's no way that could work. Then we try it, and we're like, oh, it works.
I mean, I remember watching the 68G videos with Calder, right? I don't think he really liked pre-looped keyboards, right? Or maybe something with the stabilizers. Like, I think before he wasn't much of a fan of it. Maybe I'm wrong, but then I distinctly remember some video I saw where he just tried, like he just upped the loop from the factory like to max, and then the prototype came, and he tried it, and he was like blown away with like the difference it actually makes. So,
Indeed.
So yeah, even when we try things just in case, and then those cases then are very important, because then you need to have a constant feedback.
Yeah, and Andrew, I also didn't read that you were trying to say that our switches, you know, that there was an issue with them at all. I just want to make it very clear that we do recognize that there is always room for improvement, and that there's a couple of characteristics of our switch that are acceptable for what they're at, but that we do believe can be improved.
And so there's some of those specifically that we're looking at. How can we do it better? And that's a big, long project. So that's certainly nothing anytime soon coming out in that respect. Let's see here. There was another question that I wanted to answer as well that I skipped over. I've missed it. Never mind. So do definitely continue asking questions in the chat. That's one of the best ways to interact with us. There's an individual who was asking here about when will the standalone PCB be released. They're referring to the module product, as we call it, for the 68G. That is something that we're looking at launching for pre-orders as early as next week. Fingers crossed. That's the road to hell is paved with best intentions, and it is our intention to release it for pre-orders next week. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
and then somebody else was asking about springs, specifically that there's a pingy sound with the springs. That's actually a little bit more to do with the steel plate that the switches are in. So we did recently release a polycarbonate switch plate, and that will have a pretty significant impact on the pinginess sound. And then the question that you didn't ask with those switches is that we are also planning on releasing a switch pack that has a number of different weights of, not switch packs, spring pack, a number of different weights of springs that you can then mod into the Lecker switches to have either heavier or even lighter. Yeah, indeed, spring packs, not switch packs. I should make sure that's clear.
Spring packs, yeah.
Ooh, and Devor has a very good question here. Why only ANSI PC plate? That is because for the ISO PC plate, for there to be compatibility with the screw and stabilizers, there is an interference with the current ISO PCB where a standoff is located. And I don't know all the exact technical details, our industrial designers do. But essentially, when we release the module, it will have a slightly redesigned ISO PCB that will be compatible with a PC plate for ISO.
Yes.
But because we haven't released the module and all the current ISO 60HEs that are out there have this incompatibility with that standoff location, we have not released the ISO PC plate for sale yet. It is in the warehouse and ready to go. We're ready to ship it, but we haven't released it for sale because there's nobody who currently has a compatible keyboard to do it. Although I do believe, and maybe Manson, correct me if I'm wrong, that you had tried to put it on an ISO keyboard and you were able to like jerry rig it or just jam it in there in some way, and it kind of sort of mostly worked. But in general, it is not something that is out of the box compatible with where it's at. So, but when we release the module, that will be compatible with a PC plate, and indeed the module comes with a PC plate, ANSI and ISO both by default. So, and then a follow-up question along those same lines was, what about the keycaps, the Take Control keycaps? Are those available for ISO? We started off with ANSI to kind of test the market and to see how they performed, and it turns out people love them. So we are, in fact, going to make an ISO version. I know for a fact we're going to make ISO German. I don't know if we're making ISO UK. I only know that for sure ISO German. I imagine that perhaps over time that will also make other versions of ISO, other languages. But that is on the basis of what is that potential market share for that particular keycap language. So if you are of a particular keycap language of the ISO world, then make sure you tell all of your friends to purchase those keycaps, and if we see that sales increase, then we can add those other versions as well.
Yep.
So a follow-up then, so the ISO plate will not be, switch plate specifically, the PC plate, will not be compatible with the current 60HEs in the wild. That is correct, yes. At least out of the box without additional modifications.
ANSI is the way.
And then what Manson was saying here, that we've got somebody on our team who has been tasked with doing a deep dive into what is possible to help support those individuals who have a current 60HE ISO. How can we create a process for them to utilize the PC plate without having to have an incompatibility issue. So we're working on that. There may be a easy answer to that. I don't know, but we've got somebody tasked with seeing with again.
Yeah.
Okay. I think let's wrap up and give opportunity for a few final questions. If anybody's got them, now's your chance to speak now or forever hold your peace type thing. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream. This was David's first stream, so welcome to the world of being a super famous influencer now. Ooh, here's a good question from Lucius Skies. Will the updated Rapid Trigger be available to current Wooting keyboards, or is this a new product that will not have backwards compatibility? Any improvements, refinements, or evolutions that we create for Rapid Trigger are going to be on a firmware or a software level, and therefore they will absolutely be compatible with all of our, certainly all of the HE keyboards. I would assume to some degree, like we talked about previously on the stream, that they would also be compatible or at least usable with the old FlareTech keyboards. But that is an assumption, not a promise. And there may be technical limitations for that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure from the top of my head, but we do.
But hey, maybe after all these years, like the last the last FlareTechs that we sold are 4 or 5 years old now. So maybe it's time that you get yourself a Hall Effect keyboard, eh? And they're pretty much in stock. So they're shipping. If you order now, depending on what you get and where you get it and where it's shipping to, it may even still deliver before Christmas. If not, then sometime very early in the new year. So definitely pick it up now when you can. And let's see. Last questions that we got here. Will the module bring any improvements for the PCB other than screw-ins? No, there's no performance improvements or anything like that with respect to this. This is a compatibility improvement for screw-in stabilizers, and that is the focus. Any efforts to improve the chattering top-out sound of the Lecker switch housing? I have seen some comments, some back and forth in the various feedback threads and Lecker switch channel on Discord on how this is being discussed at the highest levels. I don't have any particular insight into that. That is, I leave that for them to make decisions on, and then I execute on those decisions. And let's see here. Any other new take control keycaps when? Over the next couple months, for sure. New colorways. And I think that's it. That wraps up our stream here. So thank you everybody for your attendance. We appreciate all the questions. Hope you had a good time here. Hope you learned some stuff about Wooting and about some exciting new products coming up. And don't forget, every time that you ask when TKL or when any given percent, we add 5% or 5 minutes to the release date. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Until